Lynn Hayden. Lynn Hayden.
Dan. I'm alive.
Lynn, you're back. I get to talk to you. A lot has changed on BCP, and one of my absolute favorite people in the world. I get excited to do shows with you.
Oh, you're such a sweetheart.
Oh, you are such a sweetheart. You know what? I got a bone to pick with you, though.
Uh-oh.
My 50th birthday on Christmas. I didn't get your song from you.
Yes, you did.
You did? You sent that to me?
Yeah, and you thanked me. You said thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I've been sipping on the scotch tonight. I forgot about that.
I guess. Yeah, you know why? I had to do 4 people. I had 3 birthdays on the 24th, 23rd, and yours on the 25th. So I did them all. I sent it to you, mister, because you loved it.
You know what? I had so much going on that day. I forgot. I apologize. You are right.
So people,
what an asshole. I just started off with that, and I was totally wrong.
I do a
what a
gift that just keeps on giving, and I only sing it to certain people.
I want to do. You ever see the movie Ace Ventura's Pet Detective?
Yes.
You know when he does the reverse? Can I just reverse that? Lynn, I want to thank you for that amazing video that you sent me on my 50th birthday.
Oh, you're so welcome. Excuse me, I got a cold. All of Vegas has got a cold, so we're all sick with colds.
Of course you do. You guys are a petri dish out there.
Oh God. Well, and it got real cold here too. So, but yes, but yes, you're welcome. So ignore Dan on the birthday video. Okay.
What an asshole. I just opened up with
completely
false information. Anyways, my dear, it's okay. So for the history that we've got a lot of newbies in our chat
yes, they probably don't know who I am.
I grew up in Round Lake, Illinois. She didn't grow up in, but raised her children in Lake Villa, Illinois. Our town's touched. And literally, she came into like many times, the place, my first employment, which was Sammy's, soon to be a new sponsor. And I would probably make her hot dogs and beefs. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, best beefs and
I just had one like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, you're lucky.
And I start doing BCP. She pulls up in my feed. I'm like, oh, I love this woman. For anyone that does so, Lynn Hayden has her own channel called Let's Talk Chicago Bears, and she is a mastermind of words. I love when you mess up people's last names or first names. It just
happens daily.
I love you so much when you do that. So I'm like, I have to talk to her. And we hit it off. We made friends. We found out she lives in Vegas now. I'm in Atlanta. And here we grew up, we're
literally, yes.
And became good friends. First year of BCP in 2022, we did a show every year once a week, I should say, during the season called The Lowdown with Lynn. And then Lynn had knee surgery the next year. And life kind of got in the way, and I didn't want to bother her. And then I kind of got burnt out from doing this so much,
we get it.
And here we are for the first show in 2 years, just about.
Yeah, just about.
And I'm so jacked to talk to you right now because we talk on the side, but
we do. But not this. Right. No.
This is where you get to get into the Bears fan therapy side of it with people actually, listening to this.
Yeah. So, and supposedly know what they're talking about. Ooh.
Listen, we have a lit chat tonight. Illinois Jones, Armando Lara, Mr. Mayhem, Patty Lara, J2K, Plank, Black Diamond, Foster Covers. You guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. Chad Spieger. Oh man, it's there's more
Nice.
to come too, I presume. Nice. Hopefully a special surprise for you. I've been working on a special surprise.
I like surprises. Of course, it depends what it is, but
hopefully it happens.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it will,
right.
but I asked someone to join us. Hopefully he will. He's never joined us before.
Oh, okay. Well, this is
he or she, I should say.
Both, right?
He or she. Yeah, it could be a he or a she. Let me just put it that way.
Okay. I'm down. You know me. But
we've got a super chat from Chad Speaker, $2. Thank you, Chad. Lynn, Chad is one of our new supporters, fans. Yeah, he's in chat all the time with us, and we love you, Chad. Thank you so much for your support. So, Lynn.
Dan, where do we start?
Enough about me.
Okay.
Let's talk about you. Since we haven't talked in 2 years, okay, recap the 2023 season and then recap the 2024 season. You don't even want to do 2023? That's fine with me. 24.
I don't want to. Fuck 2023 because you know what? It wasn't as bad as 2024. But as I've been saying, like on my show, the McCaskies, Poles, the Bears organization for the last 2 years, they know how to make Kool-Aid because I'll tell you what, they can stir it and we drank it. And I'm pissed. So last year, what did we all in the off season going into 2024? Oh my God, who was not jacked about it? Because the Bears were sending all this shit out. Oh yeah, this and this. And of course we got, well, nobody. Okay, this is the other thing. How I mess up names. My son cannot stand it, but I call our wonderful quarterback Cabe. I just make up my own name.
Cabe. He's Cabe Williams?
Cabe Williams.
If I was your son, I would feel the same way.
He's like, that's not his name. And I'm like, well, it is for me on my show. So we draft Cabe.
Well, you know, Chris Watts. Chris Watts he was, for the longest time, he was calling him Khalib.
Oh, well, see,
which is
Cabe
worse.
is sort of a nickname. So, you know.
Cabe is like, you're just skipping a couple of words. He's like just pronouncing it wrong altogether with, right?
Right. And so you'll know who I'm talking about when you're on my show because you know, okay, she calls him Cabe. But we draft this kid who, you know, polls no one going into it, why he did not fire Flus in the offseason and get that coach. But Ben Johnson wouldn't have come. You know, well, no, not true. He wanted, I think he's always wanted the Bears. So, and I think he would have come last year if the Bears had asked him, but it didn't happen. So number one mistake, we went into the season. I was worried. You know, I'm not a big Swift fan. Sorry, people. I wasn't happy about that signing. I would be happy if we had a number two punch like David Montgomery and Swift. Montgomery can get you those hard down. He's a power back. He could get through that mine. He doesn't fall down. Swift is open space, go, and he can catch. Okay, Swift's great for that, but he's not a power back. Okay, so number two, I was mad about that. So we went into that. Keenan Allen doesn't get started. I'm getting worried. I went to the Carolina game with my sister on.
That was a win. A nice win.
That was their last win. No, they won the next week, Jacksonville. But that was, unfortunately, that's the game we lost, Brisker. But they were playing so well. I mean, that was a great game. And who wasn't like, yeah, this is rocking and rolling, right? This is going to happen. We're going to be 500. Of course, you thought they were going to the Super Bowl. You know, I give this guy a hard time all the time, people. He is, I mean, I just laugh at him beginning of every season when he tells me what he thinks the Bears are going to be. But so we go in, we beat Jacksonville, of course we should, and then all hell breaks loose. They play the damn Washington Commanders.
Fucking Hail Mary.
And you know what? Flus is such an idiot. First of all, it all started when he gave those free 15 yards before the Hail Mary. They should have gone after him. He doesn't make that pass, that 15 yards. He don't make that Hail Mary. Not going to happen. He wouldn't even make the end zone. But you give him 15 free yards, Flus, and then you don't call a timeout. Your team is one guy's over there fucking with the fans. Your team, I mean, he should have been fired the day after that game, hands down. It should never have gone on. And then what happens? He continues to screw up the clock. Do I need to say any more? Detroit, Minnesota. I mean, he costs us the Indy game that last year. He cost us games in 2023 with the same kind of bullshit. And you know what? I was to the point where I'm just like, and then when he threw when after that Washington game was over, the first thing he does is he throws the defense under the bus. Now, a good coach,
that was worse.
As much as I cannot stand that bald-headed, vising-wearing Nagy, he would not throw his players under the bus. That's
true.
Right.
I kept saying I want Matt Nagy back. Hold on a second. Hold on. I do have something for that. Whenever that word is said,
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
It was times I was just like begging, please, somebody just hand us Matt Nagy back, please.
I know.
Right now.
At least he wasn't that stupid. But when he threw him under the bus and then 2 days later backtracks, he lost the defense then, in my opinion. Now, of course, it's not professional. You got to do your job. You're getting paid a shit ton of money. But he lost them. And then when Brisker went down, if people forgot about Brisker. His numbers before he went down were wonderful. He had a sack. He had an interception. He was leading the team in tackles. And then he goes down and doesn't play the rest of the year.
Pause for station identification. You are watching BCP with Lynn Hayden, who has not been on the show in the last 2 years. She is doing her recap of the 2024 season, and she is going to get into the second half of this with the new regime. Go ahead, Lynn.
Yes, I will. And so Brisker's down. I'm worried about that. We're not winning. We're losing. The wheels fell off. We all know that. They finally fucking fired him when they've never fired a coach in the history of the Bears. I mean, never. The only time they let a coach had to walk away is when he went to World War II, George Halas.
You were shocked, weren't you? You were shocked. I wish I could see been a fly in the wall in your house when you saw he was fired. Like, what? Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to happen, but boy, was I was going to start drinking at 9 a.m. I was so happy. I was like, finally, right? But the team had already lost. The damage had already been done. There really wasn't much more you could do.
It was totally
I mean, they fired the offensive coordinator. He should never have been hired. It just, all of it, the wheels fell off. And the thing is, I believe, too, is some of those guys in the locker room are guilty of not playing. I think we had some big babies. Cole Clement said it the last game. He called people out, not by their name.
What's his name? Wait, what's his name?
Cole Clement.
Cole Clement, for the record, everyone. Called him out.
Okay, yeah.
I remember. I know. I'm just, that's the fun of you.
I know.
So he called him out. You're right. He did.
He did. He called him. He said, we have immature players in this locker room. We have players that don't work 100% on the practice field and don't show it in life and don't show it on the field. And I am going to call this guy out. And I think the number one culprit, Sweat. He had 5.5 sacks. No. Dexter had 5. We're not paying Dexter. We're paying Swift for double digits. And I don't mean 5.5 double digits. I mean 13, 14, 15.
I think Sweat played with an injury the whole year, though.
I know he did, but you know what? I still think so. I think
it wasn't announced, though.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't announced that he had an injury. I think he had a nagging injury. He
was always on. Did not practice a lot. He did that, but I really believe he was one of the problems. Of course, Stevenson didn't help with his fuck up. And, what the team it was a mess. The play calling, other teams this year came out after watching the Bears and said, we knew exactly what they were going to do when they lined up. What? My grandson knew it. For Christ's sake. You're throwing to DJ Moore behind the line of scrimmage. You know a team is bad when they make their number one receiver a running back. I mean, It's just a shit show. But I will tell you, that last game I heard. Now I wasn't at the last game. Were you at the last game?
I was at the second to last game.
Okay,
I was
I
at
heard
the last home game, the Seahawks game. Yeah.
So I heard in the fourth quarter, whether it's true or not, that all people were chanting was "Sell the team, sell the team, sell the team."
I was there. I was doing it.
I think the McCaskies, because I personally think they won't sell the team until Virginia passes, and I don't want her to pass, but the woman is 100 years old, and 102, right? And they won't sell the team because she won't do it. But I think the Bears finally heard. It's like, yeah, you've got this great quarter. I mean, if you look at the stats that Cabe had this year for no line, no real running attack. We didn't even get 1,000 yards, for Christ's sake. We couldn't even get 100 yards most of the games. Not going to win doing that. And I think with the stats he had, no line, no real running attack, and they put too much on him, in my opinion. I think they just said, phew. Now, he showed he could handle it, but can he? I mean, that's an awful lot they did to him. And I just,
Cabe,
21 for 6 is a great ratio. 21 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. It's phenomenal. But I think they had him so scared. Don't throw an interception. Don't throw an interception. He didn't make those passes he should have. How many times did we see him and then he stopped, right? And the guy's got it. We've got a quarterback. There is just no doubt about it.
Let's see. Just to get that number straight, I think he had more than that. So he had, he had 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Yeah. Well, I said 21. I think mine's right and yours wrong.
I thought he had 22. Two must have been rushing though, maybe.
Maybe. Oh, that could be it. But he only had 6 interceptions, and I really believe the Bears don't
until the final fucking play of the season, he had 5.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And he would have set a record, right? Yes.
He had a 4-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio, or touchdown interception ratio.
The kids, he's smart, he's got it, he's tough. We got it. But this team, I just in the last 2 years, you think about all the people you in the first week of the 2023 season, first or second week, our DC gets fired because he's looking at kiddie porn. And then, and then Gatesy gets fired. And then we fire another OC. And then somebody else got fired in 2023 too for improper. But what does that say?
It says that, and we've been saying this on BCP for a while now, that I refuse to believe in my heart of hearts that Ryan Poles really wanted Matt Eberflus as a head coach. I think that was brought on to him by the McCaskies. And by the way, I don't want to keep this young man's time any longer because he just popped in. I have a surprise for you. Listen, everyone who is in chat right now, nobody knows about this because I didn't know this was going to happen. But
I don't either.
We have a surprise right now for the very first time. We have Greg Braggs Jr. about to hop in with us, and I just want to get a drum roll going because you want to quickly explain who Greg Braggs is in your world, Miss Lynn.
Well, Greg, I didn't know who he was, and after the
look at you with your chain, you're all like, Greg.
I'm trying to look better. I don't think it's possible, but yeah, I'll be right back. When after the Green Bay loss, I don't know what I was. God knows what I was ranting about, and he was so down. He said he went through and he ran into my show, and he was like, wow, you just were so much fun and this and that. And he called my Nate out on his show, Shy Go, in Chicago. And I hadn't even heard of him.
It's CHGO Sports, CHGO Bears. I love you. That's why the naming conventions just don't work with you. I love it.
Yeah, you know me. And yeah, so, and then I got like over 350 new subscribers because of him.
More than that.
Yeah, I went from
You go
400
from like
to
3 to 800.
No, I have 736 right now. So,
Okay. Well,
but
I don't want to take up this
yeah, no, bring him
man's
on.
time because he's a busy guy. Greg,
I
I
know he
want to
is.
thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this possible for Lynn. I like I told you,
Oh,
I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. I've
too.
been trying to get you on for a while on the show, but to me right now, this has nothing to do with this channel. It's about you having a moment with Lynn. Thank you for joining us, Greg. This is amazing.
No, I
You guys-
appreciate I appreciate the invite and the introduction, Lynn. Obviously, I'm a big fan of what you do, and I'm glad I was able to come across your channel here earlier this year. And it is, for me, it's just like one of those things, like all you guys, everybody across, all Bears social media, we all share a love for this team. And everybody kind of has their different reasons for it's. You hear the term nowadays, everybody has a podcast, right? And so when people call me and ask me like, well, what should I do? And how should I, get to where, I got lucky, right? Like a lot of things fell into, right. And a lot of things fell into my lap. It was, a lot of hard work combined with opportunity and timing falling into place. But the number one thing I always tell people is like, be authentic, be yourself, be genuine. And we're all passionate about this team, some more so than others. But it's also just about authenticity. And I just think, Len, I think your authenticity just comes out in bunches and it's a lot of fun. My wife and I were watching some of your videos and when I first came across, and I just really, it resonated with me because, you strike me as the type of person that would watch. If it's like when people say dance, dance like no one's watching, you know what I mean? Like that's what true passion for something that you do is. And, I did brags in the stands and I still do where I'll do shows that if there might be 2 people watching, but you know what? It's about what I love to do. It's not about the viewers. It's not about the money. It's not about the clicks. It's about the love of what you're doing and what you're talking about. It's not just about Bears. So love for what you do. And so I just really appreciated that in a world where authenticity is starting to dissipate. I think you're bringing it back to the fold. So I commend you for what you do. And so it's nice to finally meet you.
Well, thank you. You too. And when you first did it, that first, whatever you called me out, the next day is when it started and I couldn't get into my account. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then it kept jumping, 450, 550. And I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with, I kept resetting my computer. I was at 700. I'm like, how did this happen? And then somebody told me and I was like, oh my God. So I watched your show and I'm like, oh my gosh. So thank you. You know what?
No, hey, it's nothing. It's nothing. You know what? And honestly,
for the love. I don't care about the clicks. I have 736 subscribers. Don't get me wrong. I'm digging it, but I do it because I love the Bears.
Well, and that's the thing. I think people need to understand that are watching this show here, watching what we do. When we ask people to hit the like button or subscribe, yes, you're making us feel better when you do that, but you're also actually helping the program that you enjoy. So if you're watching this show right now and you hit the like button, you're helping that YouTube algorithm spread it to fans that may not know what this show is or what your show is, or even as big of a platform as that we're on.
It's your show.
It's the same thing. Like there's people where you're trying to find the people that don't know that of the work you do. So, it's something you don't always have to pay monetarily. You can help, somebody, you can help support someone in very little ways and hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel.
Did. I mean, my friend, you did. And, that's the thing is on my show too, is I try to be kind, except for to the Bears. But I also think sometimes I'm hoping I'm teaching people a little something, your show, you have, real sports people watching and this and that. Mine is more of a little bit more, not so much. So if I could teach them of something once in a while, okay, cool. And I've had some friends who never watched football during COVID started watching me, and they're like, my friend's husband's like, I like you, and you made me. I watch football now, and I'm like, see, So it's if I could turn somebody on to football, I'm digging it because
Right.
I
Well, and you know
love.
what? And I think what we've learned with media as it's growing too is, not everybody wants to be talked at. Some people, we want to be talked with.
Yes.
And so, it's one of those things where I've said for years, too many experts, not enough fans, right? Like the sport we
Agreed.
all love, when you used to 20 years ago before podcasting and social media existed, where you went to talk sports was at a bar or out, at a gathering or at a game. And none of us really understood the game like some expert, but we talked about it because we loved it. And the person that thought they were smarter than everyone in the room was the one like, get out of here. Now it's reversed because of social media. It's like a prerequisite. Everyone's got to be the smartest, sports conversationalist. And so like that's for me. And when you say like our show's like this hardcore football type, well, my role on the show is just to be the meatball. And I wear that with pride. Not to say there aren't things I know about the game, but like it's about relatability. All these people that are watching the show right now, the people that watch your show, we relate to you. Yes. And that's why when I watched your show, I know 6 Lynns in my life, right? I know somebody that's just like you. So as soon as that came out, I'm like, wow, like I really relate to this person, even though we're on 2 separate sides of the country. We share the same passion. And I, somebody like me, I know somebody like you. And that's how we all kind of, that's what the community is about. That's how you grow a community within this fan base. And so anytime you're ever in the city, you come to a game, make sure you come to our tailgate and, you'll be greeted with open arms.
I wish I had known. Well, I was there for the Carolina game, October 6th, but you hadn't seen my show yet. You saw it after the Green Bay loss. So
that's right. Yeah.
Otherwise I would have, because me and my sister
that Carolina game was the last time I felt happiness, Lynn. So
yes, and I was at that game, so you're welcome. We can't hear you, Dan.
Yeah, Shorty, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, you dork.
That's $5
in the jar.
It wasn't the London game?
Well, last time in the United States.
Oh, yeah, you're right. At home, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, the London game, well, we were going to win.
The London game was amazing. I mean, that was pure bliss. But, the last time at Soldier Field. 100%.
Oh, crap, I'm in the wrong show. It's the wrong night. Sorry, guys.
My co-host is he finally shows up to a show he's not supposed to be in when he misses his own show. Just so he can say I talked to Greg Brett.
It's my turn.
Love it.
I do appreciate your kind words, and it means a lot because I do really do it for the love. And I did a show during the season called "Ode to Being a Bears Fan" for 49 years, and I couldn't believe, I was so depressed when I brought up those stats, how many I've seen more losses than wins, and all the coaching and there was 57 starting quarterbacks since I started watching them in 75. 15.
That's ridiculous.
I know it.
Yep.
So, but you know what? I'm never going to stop, but this year was a tough one. So the people who were left watching us, which we started losing viewers because no one wanted to talk about it anymore. I tried to get them with my humor and making fun of myself because I like to do that too. Not fair to have your father's face on a woman's body. It's not fair. And
I sent you a picture of a guy that would look like you. I said, "Is this your dad?" You were like, "Ha, no."
He sent me a picture the other day. Is this your dad?
Hey, we all got the Chicago in our DNA, right? So
yeah, that's for sure. But but it's and now I'm turned on to your show and I watched you guys, and so it's been really nice. Thank you. And the Come On Man show is very cool. Thank you for doing that.
First off, Greg, I want to thank you for doing that. You didn't have to. And Lynn, I want to inform you because this is kind of a special moment for me because Greg, I kind of came from the Barroom Network as well.
Okay.
And I remember you being on there and starting off on there. And you're like the guy that became from a podcaster to like the media world. And that's why I have so much respect for you, and I don't know you at all. Been trying to get you on our show. At the time, I was like trying to like help our show, but at this point, I could give a shit about this because of what you were saying. I do this for fun. This is now my hobby. It is for fun and for fun only. And the first thing that we want to do is laugh on this show, and then talk Bears.
Right.
That goes laughing and Bears. So to have you on here and kind of both of us kind of having the same roots is awesome. And then you helping Lynn out. And just being you and just being a cool dude.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey,
Cool.
I'm just trying to. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to make it like it's just one of those things where I'm trying to have fun with it. You know, if it ends tomorrow and I get sent back to laying brick, I can look back, look back on all this and say,
I knew you were a hard-working dude. I could tell what your job was before. I knew it.
You get sent back to laying bricks. Come over to here. Don't go back to TTNL. Come over to here. We got a spot for you.
Yeah. I've been. It's to me. It's just I want to make sure I can look back on these days and say, you know, I did it right. I did it my way, you know, to quote one Frank Sinatra, right? And have fun with it. I'm not going to change who I am just because I got to this point. And so, you know, I owe Barroom, you know, my first opportunity to come on a podcast. I owe guys like Phil and Shane who, you know, when I first started really saw what, you know, I didn't even see. I didn't understand the podcasting world at that point. I was a AM radio junkie for life at that point.
But you had that filter on your blue eyes. That's what got everyone.
Yeah, that's certainly the blue eyes at least tricked my wife into marrying me. I don't know how many viewers it tricks, but certainly tricks. At least the one I tricked was the most important, and that was my lovely wife.
That's all that matters, my friend.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, I want to just you know, try to be the different type in the media. There's a lot of media guys trying to write the same story, say the same things on the shows. And, you know, I'm not in a war on expertise. And when you talked about, you know, we're going to have fun first, we're going to laugh first on the show. Like people forget, like we're in the sports entertainment business. This isn't the sports expertise business. And what's great about how many different outlets there are now and how many different podcasts are, if you want the analytics, you can get it. If you want the X's and O's, you can get it. If you want just entertainment, that sports talk TV type, you know, daily show, you can get it. Like there's so many different outlets and avenues to fill the need you're looking for. We try to blend some of that stuff, and you know, we do our best with what we do, but it's all about staying true to yourself, right? That's what I try to tell anybody with what you're doing. Don't try to be someone you're not. And so, you know, I that's impossible for me to do. I
me neither. I can barely do me. Okay. So,
exactly right. So
he knows. But can I ask you something? I know you're probably going to go soon, but let's ask he says he's not an expert, but he is. What do you think of the new hire?
Well, there's no reason not to be elated about it. The Bears got the number one coach in this pool. Everybody was wanting Ben Johnson, and only so many teams even had the luxury to interview with Ben Johnson. So for the Bears to come away with him, that's certainly exciting. But now the hard work remains. Now the execution of the vision, and you bring in the number one quarterback last year. You hire, you know, this coach that has this amazing offensive background and resume. You pay him a ton of money, you know, but that doesn't guarantee success. What's going to guarantee success is that when spring comes around and they walk into that locker room, that these guys come together as a team. And that's why when we were looking at this coaching search, you can talk about how important it is to have a good offensive mind, get some good offensive linemen in here, have a good offensive philosophy, 1,000%. But the other big part of this equation is the culture of this locker room. And so, you know, these guys got to play with much more of a sense of urgency, a better sense of pride, a lot more toughness, and play for each other and work hard for each other during the summer and during the week throughout the year. And I think a lot of that stuff was lacking. And that starts with leadership. That's not just leadership from coaches.
Yep.
And I think the leadership from the coaches is certainly important. I think Ben showed an ability to command a room when he was introduced. I liked what I heard. I liked how he spoke directly at the players. I like how he spoke directly at Caleb Williams. But he's got a lot more locker room to command still. 4 guys were in the room that day.
Exactly.
One more question before we let you go, because I could tell. Listen, I really appreciate you doing this, Greg.
Yeah, of course.
And I know you must be exhausted from all of the. You just
I've been
kind of
off all week. I've actually been sick all week, so I haven't worked. This is the most I've worked all week is here.
Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. If you want to get out of here in a minute, we can do that too. But I wanted to ask you before you leave, like, for me, I've always been the ultimate optimist. Every single fucking year I come in, I predicted 13-4 and the first team to win the Super Bowl, the rookie quarterback, and I stood by it all the way until like, well, it's still possible. And then after the whole thing fell apart, I started to really, for the first time, reflect on my Bears fandom, and I started to become negative. And when they hired Ben Johnson, you know what went through me? Nothing. I thought, well, that just must mean he's the wrong pick. Because if the McCaskies picked him, if this is real, then it must be the wrong guy. Because the McCaskies, as long as they're involved, they cannot get this shit right. Have you gone through that moment? I just turned 50, by the way, on Christmas. So maybe that's the reason why. Maybe I'm hitting that midlife crisis thing where I'm like, I'm trying to figure out if I still like what my loyalty, why am I doing this to myself every year? Have you gone through that? And did you feel that at all?
We've been through this many times here in Chicago, right?
How can you trust it, right?
Right. Like, it's like, look at the Cubs,
not just the Bears.
108 years of futility. The ownership, obviously, then they trade out the Tribune company, becomes Ricketts' team. Now everybody hates Ricketts. I mean, he did bring home a World Series, but you hire Theo Epstein, you bring in Joe Madden. Now all of a sudden you got all these young players that they bond. They have this chemistry. You can feel it. And so, I get where you're coming from as a Bears fan. If you want to stick to the football part of this, it has been hard these last couple of years as a fan that's now in the media, that works closely with guys that are on the team, or, talks to people that work at Hallis Hall and being around it a lot more. You start to learn how the sausage gets made. Yep. And sometimes you get that scares you as a fan. Like, it's honestly, as much as we all are like, man, I wish I was in that spot so I could know everything about the team. It's almost worse. Like, because it's one of those things that's really
show
cool.
off.
I used to work for the Bears for
whatever
3 years.
So I think when you start to get close to it like that, it does kind of make you a little jaded. It makes you a little more hesitant because you're hearing things. But you know what? At the end of the day, if Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and this team are right, we're gonna feel it. And so this year, even though they started out 4-2 and almost 5-2, and I would argue that one moment where Roschon Johnson scored the touchdown to take the lead on Washington, there was like that moment. It's almost like I'm trying to think of the movie where somebody like eclipsed into outer space for just a second, and then it like nosedive back down into the Earth's atmosphere. Like, for just a second, we felt like what we felt in 2018, where Club Dub and the team's connectivity, we're like, there they are playing together, and then it just boom, like I've never felt a higher high and then a lower low in a moment. Maybe dating back to obviously the double.
By the way, it wasn't a double doink. It was a block. It was a blocked field goal.
Tip, then double doink.
It was a tipped field goal. Wasn't it?
So
like, double doink wouldn't have happened if it wasn't tipped.
So for me, I just think go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say, for me, I just think, like right now it feels right. They got the right hire. They're going to be able to add to this roster. I like Caleb Williams. I like Roma Dunze. All that's great, but the only way we're going to feel confident is when the team makes us feel that way, where they Club Dub, that was a real thing. There was a bond on that team that you could feel through the TV screen. So if these guys are going to be it, we're going to feel it. It's not going to be about forcing it or saying it. You're going to feel it. You know it when you see it. And so right now it's all talk. Let's get to the spring. Let's get to the summer. And so when you say, hey, I feel bad because I'm not feeling anything with the Ben Johnson thing. All right. Maybe a little bit of what this energy needs is for the fans to hold their feet to the fire a little bit. Like, hey, Kyle Long said, this is going to be the show me year. This isn't going to be the say it year. This is the show me year. And I think that's fair, and I think that's a healthy way for Bears fans to approach this season. But go ahead, Lynn.
And what made Club Dub work really quick, Lynn, is that they were winning 4 years, 2 playoff appearances, albeit back in the second of the playoff appearances. 4 years, 2 playoff appearances for Nagy. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm going to throw something off of that, and then I'm going to say what I was going to say. But 2018, we won, right? 12-4, and rookie Trubisky. Next year he comes out.
Trubisky, I love her. I love this woman.
I can't say a word. I should say
the worst with names. The worst you'll ever hear.
I love it.
He comes out in 2019 and he looks completely different. And I'm like, what did Nagy do to him? And you can't, how do you go from being that 12-4 to the next year looking completely and then getting benched? And so we'll leave because, that was another idiot. But my concern, this is kind of the right, because Nagy, our last 3 coaches were first-time head coaches. That scares me.
All head coaches,
I know Ben Johnson's got all the, stats and this and that, and he did this, and he did take Jared Goff to the next level, except for that last game. But I'm just worried. And I think my biggest thing is I'm holding on to the fact that he worked for a Dan Campbell, who is an awesome coach. And I am praying that he watched and learned and saw, because that team is a team that's together. They lost all these defensive players this year on IR, and they still were winning. He's got that team. So that's my concern with the head coaches. I know people are going to go, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'll probably lose subscribers when I'm about to say what I'm going to say, but
getting subscribers as you talk.
I was leaning towards Mike McCarthy more because he had head coach experience. I'm not kidding. We've been burned so many times.
Well, right. And I understand where you were coming from with that. And I was leaning that way too at times through that process. And I at least came to the conclusion, whether they ended up with Ben or they ended up with Mike McCarthy, that I thought both were good options, but for different reasons. And so for you and me, where we started to look at Mike McCarthy, there are a lot of fans like, no way, I know. But I think for me and you looking at it, we're like, okay, well, we know how he handles the locker room. We know how he develops a quarterback. We've seen him have success as a head coach. We've seen it. We know how he handles different types of ownership from Green Bay and Dallas. So there was a lot of different boxes that were already checked. With Ben, we don't know how he is as a head coach. He's never been one. We don't know how he's going to create culture in a locker room. We don't know, like at the time when we hired him, we didn't know what kind of a staff he would assemble. We don't know. Now that box has been checked. At least we know who they are. Now we'll see how it comes together.
We'll see if they do.
We don't know how he'll be as a play caller that has all these other responsibilities. We don't know how he is developing a young quarterback. But that doesn't mean those things, just because we don't know them, doesn't mean he can't succeed at them. It just simply means we don't know. And that scares us as Bears fans to trust that all these things are going to work out. And so I guess the thing I would say to be encouraged about with Ben Johnson for you, Lynn, is he could have rushed and taken a job last year. And he said, I'm going to wait a year because I want to try to win one for Detroit, but I also want to really hone in on what I need to be as a head coach here going forward, and also have answers of how I'm going to handle the defensive side of the ball when I go into interviews the next year. So I thought there was a few different lines of commitment and purpose that he felt he had to find here in this last year to have himself ready for this moment. And then when you now fast forward to seeing the coaching staff he's brought in, former player in JT Barrett, former player in Antoine Randall, who come from the Detroit staff.
Yes.
Like Dan Campbell's a great coach, but those two guys chose to follow Ben Johnson to the worst team in the North.
Yes.
So that to me is a
It
mark
says a lot.
on we believe in this coach. And that's not to say Dan's not a good coach, but that speaks volumes to Ben. And so then you also bring in Al Harris from Dallas, who's got huge reviews as a coach. So I just think that is where I'm mostly encouraged. Dennis Allen's got the experience. You know, they just brought in a Jaguars passing game coordinator, and I know they got the Denver guy too, the young guy Doyle. But I'm looking at these former players and saying, when we're talking about culture and we're talking about getting these guys to play a little tougher, play with more of a sense of pride, I think those are the type of guys that are going to help that locker room immensely and help Ben Johnson with maybe some of the things that he may or may not be able to do.
Right. He's only going to do so much. Well, and the one thing too about the Bears hiring him for the first time, in my opinion, is they didn't mind that there was somebody else smarter in the room than them. That was a problem for them. I don't think they liked that they didn't hire somebody smarter than them. They finally have done it. Because I don't know, did they hear the fans? I don't know. But see, the thing about football is I tell people say, well, don't go to the games. I said, don't work that way with football. It's not baseball. Football, you got to buy the tickets in May if you want to get a seat, a good seat at Soldier Field, right? So the season hasn't started. You know, baseball, you don't have to buy them. You can go along. So if they suck, you just stop buying them. But they fill the stadium every week. So they're like, what the hell do we care, right? Well, you know what? I bet the Chicago Park District cares when they don't show up and buy all those beers and eat those hot dogs. So, right? And
I think George heard the sell the team chants, right?
I
was part of it. I was chanting it, Greg.
Right.
I was there at that game.
So you know what? You got now he busts out the checkbook for Ben Johnson here. So we'll see. I mean, I think that Kevin Warren is somebody that has really changed their operations and their sense of how they're going to run a business there. So I think that's helpful to not have, a lot of carryover yes men, Hallis Hall lifers, some people in there that, have a different voice. I think it's certainly helping that room. So, I'm with you guys. I'm excited. I'm encouraged. I'm looking forward to the spring. But I also want to see this team show us. I want to feel it. I want to feel the signs. Football is one of the hardest sports with this because the off season never really ends. And there's just such a buildup from right now through right now, the hiring process, then the Senior Bowl, then
undefeated,
then the combine, then the free agency, then the draft hype, then the draft itself, then the schedule release, and then all of a sudden you're in mini camp and OTA, and this 95-man roster is giving you promises and throwing hope in your face, and social media is selling you hats, and by the time week 1 hits, you're so dialed up, you're so wound up. This is like why my wife at the end of the night, she won't let me, like when it's time to put Addie to bed, Dad, get out of the room because you're winding her up and she needs to fall asleep. And so like for us as fans, like right now we should be in hibernation, but we're just getting wound up.
Yeah.
By the time the season starts, we're just ready for blood. So it's just a part of our DNA. It's exactly
365, baby.
Exactly. It's literally it is DNA right there. So
well, it is
coming
it
on
is. But you're right. They and they hype you and they did that the last 2 years, as I said at the beginning of the show. They know how to make that Kool-Aid man because we all drank it. And then they were just abominable. And so this year, you're right, though. The players really the biggest thing I think with Ben Johnson is he's got to get these players to be accountable and to play 100% their position every game. You do your job If everybody does their job, we're going to win. And that's the thing, how you say how we're going to believe it. They got to show us. When they start winning, they got to win. I'm not talking 1 point. Oh, we just got that one. I want to look like a real football team out there. We haven't the last 2 years. We're the fucking laughing stock of the league, especially after Washington. My God.
Well, and it's not just to flip that on its head too. It's not just about how they win. It's also about how they lose. And that's what I mean about toughness. This team, like through even when they were 4-2 to start the year, after the third game of the year against the Colts, you're hearing these guys coming out and going, well, Shane Waldron doesn't have 15 scripted plays to start the game. All of a sudden, us as fans know that the team doesn't have scripted plays to start the year.
No.
Like, if you want to take that to your coach and fix it, how did we find out about this?
Exactly.
And then when you look at how they lost to Washington, it comes out that they didn't guard the sidelines. They didn't do this. And they have these problems that Flus didn't execute at the end of the game. Why do we know this? Take it up with your coach. And so when you watch this team kind of rip each other apart through the week and then see how they responded after certain losses, certainly after the Washington loss, and then you saw how, after the firing, how they showed up against the Niners. And so, like, to me, how these guys, because like everything's all good right now. Everybody's going to be excited. And if they get out to a hot start, every player is going to be playing like their hair's on fire, because all they want as players on this team, especially some of these vets that have been through some tough years, all they want is to win. That's why they get so frustrated, because they've been through this so many times and they keep having to play for bad teams. DJ Moore has been on the Panthers and the Bears. All he's seen is bad teams. Cole Kmet's been on the Bears now. It'll be 6 years now.
Jalen Johnson.
He's getting as frustrated as anybody. So, okay, I get their frustration, but when adversity hits, because it's going to at some point this year, you can't just be waiting for it all to go right. How do you respond when something goes wrong? And so that's for the players to show some toughness, and that's for the coaches to show some leadership. Go ahead.
It's also for the media and the fans to have some fucking patience, because we all see what happens in the community of Chicagoland. The media fuels the fan base. The fan base fuels the media, back and forth. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead from there.
It's a fair point. I'll say that, there's an old saying that if you're listening to the fans in the stands, you're going to end up one, right? And so, sometimes I have to take that advice, because I've got rabbit ears to people talking about how I do my job. So I certainly understand how players on that team feel after they're criticized and how they're doing their job. But at the same time, I can't let, somebody in your chat dictate how I do my job tomorrow on CHGO. And so if there's a narrative out there, or the media is spinning something, like you as a team got to hold tight, and you can't placate to that nonsense. So I understand where you're coming from. And I think all of that becomes like a snowball effect from the ownership to the coaches, to the players, to the media, to the fans. And I think they all kind of intertwined with some of this toxicity. But at the same time, when you look at, like, again, going back to those 2016 Cubs, or the 2005 White Sox, or the 1985 Bears, or the Blackhawks dynasty run of the last 10 years, when you get a certain collection of guys that are the it when you see it moment, the guys where you feel it, that this is the right group, they don't give a crap. Ozzie Guillen,
a Legion of Boom kind of a thing.
Ozzie Guillen didn't care what Chicago had. He'd encourage it. If you look at Boston, when they won their title for the Red Sox, they called themselves the Idiots, because they were too stupid to care. And so I think you got to have thick skin if you're going to play in the big city and you're going to play with the biggest things on the line. So I think if these guys are good enough, they're not going to let that stuff bother them, you know? So, cause we're going to have our questions, right? Like, you talk about, when you talk about sensitivity, like last Friday, there hadn't been any coaches hired, right? And so I put in our headline of our show, Lynn, I said, Ben Johnson's still looking for coaching options. Should Bears fans be concerned, with a question mark? Wasn't an answer. We did our show, and we talked about the reasons why fans shouldn't be concerned. But at the time, there were fans that were like, oh, I don't know. Are we going to get Hank Fraley? Are we going to get Mark Brunell? Are we going to get this guy? So we're having a conversation of, should you be concerned? When should you be concerned? What should we be talking? Who should we be looking at? But people take that stuff. And so I think while the players need to develop a thick skin, I think there's a lot of percentage, especially people that take in content at the rate that some do. We got to develop a thicker skin too. When Robert Griffin III says something about our team this offseason, don't lose your mind about it.
No.
You know, last year, Eric Kramer said, well, I would take Bo Nix. Eric Kramer is played quarterback. His, the most, he's the records we're trying to break here in Chicago. I understand the bar's low, but that was the man's opinion. He said he'd take Bo Nix. Bears fans ripped him to shreds for that take last offseason.
He's been on our show a couple of times. He's not a Caleb fan. Yeah.
No, and that's okay.
Really?
Let Eric Kramer have his opinion. Don't shout him down and bully him out of his opinion. If Mark Carman wants to be an idiot on the show and say how much he loves Tyson Bagent, let him say it. Who cares?
I've said it.
He is an idiot, but you know what? He believes it. He thinks Tyson. He doesn't think. I'm not going to speak for him. He doesn't think Tyson's better than Caleb, but he believes in Tyson's talent.
So do I. And I play him more so you can trade him. He's got 1 year contract.
They should have played him more. When Cabe was getting sacked 7, 8 times, take the kid out of the game to save him.
Bagent, give him some reps, trade him.
Yeah. I wanted to save Cabe's head.
He's gonna walk after the season. Yeah.
So I think the moral of the story is like, everybody. If we're gonna talk about tough, and the players need to get tougher. I think that, we can get a little tougher too. And and this goes for myself included. I get sensitive on the timeline. Sometimes people coming at me sideways, get a lot of different people saying some pretty out of pocket things. You know what? At the end of the day, as we said to start this whole thing, Lynn, we all share the same passion. We all just want the Chicago Bears to win. And the day they do, my hope is that 98% of the conversation is of us rejoicing and not arguing with each other about, what,
so-and-so could have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, that's all I want. I'm looking at my life. I'm going to be 67 this year. I could check off most of the stuff. I've got great grandkids now. So I'm very happy, not great grandkids, who are great. But the only thing I want is to see a Super Bowl win with my son, because he wasn't born in 85. And so that is my goal. I'm like, God damn it, you Bears gotta win. I mean, I've been watching them for 50 years. People are like, no. And I'm like, no, I watch them. I am that devoted. I'm one of those.
You are a nut. You're a nut like all of us.
Yeah.
I love you. You're just, and then when you come out on your Monday shows and Tomlin Stevenson with that, just standing off in the end zone, that Tomlin Stevenson guy, it's like, I'm like, God, I love you, Lynn. You're so awesome.
I get so upset when I hire somebody who's got a name that I'm like, oh God, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that name. Well, that's why I use numbers a lot.
Lynn, you are a treasure. And and one of the things I said, I did fail you, because one of my goals was, as I was promoting you, and then December turns into chaos and all that stuff, we still got to get you to 1,000 subscribers. That is the goal, and we're all going to band together as a community to help you reach this goal. And because I know, just from growing my own personal channel, I cover Purdue Boilermakers basketball on my own. Like, once you get over a certain threshold, then, as we talked about earlier, that algorithm like more people really start to find you a lot
Sure.
easier. It takes a while. And that's why there's a lot of people, anybody that ever reaches out to me and asks me for advice, I always try to take their call and talk to them about different things. And I know how hard it is and how patient people have to be to try to build their channel. It takes a lot of patience. But I'm happy to be there. And I'm sorry if I've ever ghosted anyone, present company included. You know, I have scatterbrain. There's a few ways, Lynn, that you have to get a hold of me, and one of them's hitting me over the head with a frying pan because my attention span is very limited. Like I literally right now I could show you just for fun of it. I could show you just for the fun of it. 301 unread text messages.
Oh my God.
That's just text messages alone.
Wow, you read the one to come on tonight, though. That's amazing. Like that. That's
300 people. I'm impressed.
No, those people have now forgotten about me because I don't respond to them, and one of them's probably my mother.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, this was my mom. This was my mom yesterday, just to give you an idea of how. My mom's texting me the other day, "How are you feeling?" And I didn't respond, so she put crickets because I don't even respond when people check up to see my well-being. So it's one of those things where I'll read a DM or I'll read a text and I answer it in my brain.
Yeah,
but I don't actually answer it. So like if you get to know me well enough, I never text. I call. I will call you because I wanna hear it. That's the only way my brain then takes it and
processes it.
That's why I'd never last on a football team. They'd say that, you know, they'd read out the play and I wouldn't be ready for it at all. I'd be the guy you'd have to move.
Wait, what was that play?
Move into the spot where on the line of scrimmage because I'm not lined up properly. That would
I do have to ask you guys a question about Doyle, the OC that we got from Denver.
Yep.
And I've been hearing rumors and I've looked online and I'm getting different stories, you know. Is he related to Ditka or not?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't
either, but
he didn't have a Wikipedia. So when they hired him, someone created his Wikipedia. And as you know, like, well, that's how Wikipedia is made. Like people contribute to factual information about people, but you can also edit someone's Wikipedia and put that things that aren't factual that later get caught or flagged and then they take it off. So for a period of time, I don't know if it's still on there, but for a period of time, somebody updated it to say that he was Ditka's nephew. And then every Ron Burgundy in the industry, because I'll tell you right now, when the news came out, Carm did say it on our airwaves somewhere.
Okay.
I meant to clip it, but Carm definitely Ron Burgundy, the Ditka relationship. So don't feel bad if you fell for it.
And the thing you say about, you know, you can write anything you want. And at the end of my last show, at the end of the season, I said that to people before they hired anybody. I said, listen, there's so much crap on the internet. You can't believe even 98% of it. You got to really know your sources. And I said, so don't read the shit about the Bears because number one, you can't control it. Number two, it's just going to piss you off. And you're going to get madder than we already are. And we're pretty darn mad right now. So I just don't read that stuff, you know, because it's bullshit like this. He's not related to Ditka.
No, I mean, this is what the NFL has done to us. I mean, I can remember 20 years ago, like I'd watch the NFL draft, but I waited until the day of the draft. Now that I'm obviously I do this for a living, so I try to stay up to date.
You have to get him to draft now.
I have to, exactly. And
I'm the same way. I don't want to do it either.
Right. Because like for me, my process used to be, all right, NFL season is over. Now I'm gonna watch the NBA and college basketball. And when the draft comes around, I'll watch the draft. And whoever the Bears draft, I'll then get excited about those 6 to 7 players. I'm not, I didn't have 300 people I knew of.
It was pretty much the same for me, except for like the week before, I'd start scouting quarterbacks, and that was it.
No, hey, and that's all due respect to the draft junkies that have been doing it 25 years, knowing every single player that comes out. Like when we talk about true passion like that, I'm not hating on that passion at all, but every fan fans differently. And so you're not required as a fan. Now you can make the argument for me if you want to, like when people are like, well, you as an expert or analyst and you're saying this and you're wrong. And I'm like, he called me an expert. Like, I can't believe it. I'm like, show Jerry. I'm like, see, I told you I'm an expert. This person that just called me an asshole said I'm an expert, or I'm supposed to be. But really, it's okay if you're not. Like, football. Football among really above all the other sports, there are so many layers to understanding the sport on a different level. But it's not a requirement for you as a fan to understand every one of those nuances. If you want to, great. If you don't, that doesn't make someone else a better fan than you. It's just it's how you want.
1,000%. Yeah. I want to get to this super chat really quick. Googly Bear, $10 donation. Tyreek, thank you, Googly Bear. Thank you. Tyreek Stevenson has signed a contract with Pete Houlihan's performance unit. Yes, we know about that. And at the recommendation of Al Harris, who aims to develop Stevenson into a standout cornerback ball hawk. I did hear about that.
Yeah, me too. I did.
I think aside from Stevenson's, on the field problems he's getting with penalties, or obviously the bad moment at the Hail Mary, which I don't expect him to ever have a moment like that.
Never again.
But he is a guy that really just gets overly competitive, chirps at guys, puts himself in danger of getting a flag. He's poking dudes in the eye. He's fighting with Jamison Williams. He's tripping guys on the sideline. He's shown a lot of different things where you're like, where's your head at, dude? But I think overall his play, I like his play on the field. I thought, like, even through all that, I thought he was really battling at the end of the year. There was a couple times where he laid the hardest hit of the game at the end of the year. So you're talking about guys. When you talk about guys not letting go of the rope, like he was still out there competing. So I really just think it's between the ears trying to get Tyreek just to really find that balance of competitiveness and fire, which you need. It's okay to get, in a guy. I don't want guys afraid to get in guys' faces, but you also have to understand the balance of where the line is.
Well, it's maturity too,
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think about, okay, so Brisker goes down week 5, right? Or whatever week it was. And then we don't hear about it. Well, we do concussion. But in December, he tweets out, or whatever you do, I'm hitting the grass finally, which made it sound like he was practicing.
Right.
And then nothing. Silence, crickets.
I couldn't believe it.
What's going on there?
It makes me just we have to, as far as I'm concerned, draft him their strong safety.
You think he's done?
I mean, he finished that game. The game that you were at, the Panthers game, he finished it. I remember seeing him on the camera. I'm like, his bell looks wrong, man.
Yeah.
Like, why is he still playing? And then boom, he's out the rest of the season.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I don't think you can rely on.
Damn good.
Same thing with John Johnson. I don't think you can rely on that many concussions anymore with these guys. For their own health, it makes me want to move on as a fan.
Well,
and add another.
If you're going to bring him back, that's fine. But I agree with you that you need to try to draft his replacement. Yeah. You got to have somebody that's ready to go in that spot, because you can't really, just the way he plays the game, you can't expect him the same way you can't expect Tevin Jenkins to finish a full season. It's just a reality. And anyone is capable of getting hurt in any given football game. But the fact of the matter is, once you've seen it enough times, you got to prepare yourself. That's why going into this year, you can fault Ryan Poles for a lot of different things, but trying to bank on Tevin Jenkins to make it through a whole year, failed miserably. And then, you really get burned when you have guys like Ryan Bates get hurt right out the gate and all these different things. So you can't let the same thing happen, with your safety situation. And Jaquan Brisker, I think, is very talented, just like Tevin Jenkins is. But if you don't have, a backup option in the event that he does get hurt, because when you talk about like, well, what happened, it's impossible to speculate exactly how it went down. It's fair to question the Bears' processes when it comes to concussions and how quickly they react to these things, because this isn't the first time a player's had a concussion and then after the game they're like trying to figure out, when that became apparent to them.
Right.
And
right.
so, it's fair to ask that question, but clearly it was enough for them to keep him out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at it, I don't know what the right answer is when you look at concussions. If you look at Tua Tagovailoa, in Miami, where his hands are literally like crumpled up every time he's getting hurt, and it's disturbing. You can't stop. And you say like he needs to stop. And I think a lot of fans, their reaction every time this happens to him is like, yeah, man, you gotta hang it up at some point. But for me, I guess the question is it reasonable to think at some point one day where every time you get like, okay, you have one concussion, you're out this many games. You have two, you're out this many games. You hit 3, 4. Okay, now you're up to your 6th concussion. Like, at what point does the NFL hold some liability on saying like you can only have this many concussions?
Yeah.
And people, I've talked to people about this. They're like, the players union will never go for this. This is a slippery slope, because then who's the one determining who's getting the concussion?
That's true.
And I get all that, but at the same time, like, I was an iron worker for a little bit. Walking the iron's terrifying for anybody that's ever done it. It's one of the most humbling things anyone can ever do, because it takes some real brass balls to get up on them, get up on that iron. Excuse me. But what I'll say is, if I didn't have a foot, if I only had one foot, like they wouldn't let me get up on the iron. I'm a danger to myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like at some point the company has to have some responsibility of who they're letting go up there. And same, I think, can be said in terms of concussions. I don't think there's any real easy answer, and I know they have started to put some protocols with the shells on the helmet.
Yeah.
But I just am looking at this like, so are we going to wait until something really, really bad happens and then try to, make some protective measure after the fact? Like I said, there's no real easy answer, but just discussions I've had with some
there's
people
a couple chats here, and this was kind of what I was sort of leaning towards too. That Brisker, 5 minutes after they fired Flus, did something. I guess he tweeted and made fun of it, and then I was like, oh.
I did see that.
Has something to do with it too.
Well, it's my understanding that a lot of that secondary room wasn't the biggest fans of Matt Eberflus, and I think that it wouldn't be a shock to. I don't think that'd be a shock to many with everything we heard about what Jalen Johnson had to say to him after the Lions game.
I mean,
come on, who was from day one? Who was a fan of his? Anyone? Raise their hand.
I think there's probably
You tried, Greg.
No, I wanted to fire him. I fired. Listen.
But you didn't want him to. You had to talk yourself into him when they hired him, did you not? Like we all had to.
Well, I certainly wasn't selling Matt Eberflus as the guy that was going to lead us to a Super Bowl when they hired him by any measure. No way. But the Bears were also in a completely different spot back then from a rebuilding standpoint, that we didn't really have expectations the year they hired Matt Eberflus.
True.
But I'll say this much: I did fire him not this year, but last year, the year before this year, just to be clear. I fired him like 6 times on our post-game show, and then when the season was over, yes, I was begging for them to fire him for Jim Harbaugh. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I was a huge fan of his, but I'll just say, as far as people in that locker room, I'd say probably half the people, maybe a little less than half. But I know there was a large handful of players in that locker room that liked him and had a lot of respect for him. But I think ultimately the trust of him in situational moments just completely fell apart. So I wouldn't say everyone like really vehemently was against him, but there certainly was some people that were, and so I think you heard who those names were as it really started.
Damn Detroit game. I mean, that was just ridiculous. Another laughing stock of the league after that game, But one quick thing to go back just real quick when you're talking about the concussions. Do you remember back in the 90s? I think his name was Hunter Hillermeyer, and he went to Northwestern. He had a couple concussions, and he quit. What is it, 3rd year, I think? He wasn't there long. And he's like, no, not worth it. He walked away. Of course, he went to Northwestern, so he probably had a great degree. He was smart, right? But he walked away. People don't remember that, but I do.
Yep. You'll see players making those business decisions quite a bit. So I can't say for certainty that that's what Brisker did. I think people are trying to, it's all, if you're trying to decipher Jaquan Brisker's tweets, you're gonna have your head spinning because he likes to do a lot of innocuous, subtle messages that aren't always who knows what the real message is there.
Yeah, you're right.
But I guess we'll find out here coming up this year if they're going to keep him or not. So
we'll see what happens.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Greg.
I'm excited for and anytime you guys need me, just try to get my attention, like clap in my face or whatever.
Okay.
But thank you. I appreciate you guys thinking about me, and obviously, Lynn, don't mention it. Anything, that I can do to try to promote people in a positive light, I always try to do that.
Well, she's only a few hundred subscribers away from 1,000, and we're only less than 300 away from 2,000. So
we got to do this. That's what I mean.
If you wanted to help out a little bit, I'm just saying that'd be nice.
Yes, let's band together to keep growing our platforms, and then use our platforms to do good. And that's all you can do. Lift as you climb, as one David Kaplan told me a long time ago.
That's well said. Yes, well said.
Very well said.
Greg, it's been an honor to have you on here with us. Greg. Seriously, man. From a guy I mean, in the podcasting world, you are the standard that everyone achieves. Now, I don't like. I'm not even sure I would want your job. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, but like it's a lot of people. They want to be Greg Braggs, and I understand why. And you are the shit. I applaud your rise from just a podcast that it was audio stream all the way to here now on CHGO Sports. It's cool. Special. It's something to be proud of, and you are, and you should be. And we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Lynn appreciates you for taking your time out for the very first time to come on BCP with us. And we hope that our normal show is every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Get that in your 9 Eastern time every Thursday. If you want to join us, please, we would love to have you with our normal group because we have just as much fun, if not more. And it kind of takes your mind off of shit. We call it Bears fan therapy.
Yep.
So, Greg, thank you so much.
It gets a little seedy sometimes, though, that show. So beware.
I hear his Twitter things that he does. It's not worse.
Something I haven't heard before on a job site for 20 years. So we can hang in. Nothing we haven't heard on Lynn's fine program.
No,
she swears worse than we do. These fucking Bears.
Love it. Yeah, anytime, guys. Let me know when you ever need anything. And I'll be tuning into your guys' shows as well.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you. Have a good night, my friend.
You as well. Later, guys. Bear down.
Bear down.
Hey, you know what I wanted to say hi to is Scottish. Where did he go?
Scottish Bears.
Yeah, he watches my show too. I think he heard from you. So hi, Scottish.
Well, Scottish Bears. He's been in our chat for like a year and a half now, 2 years. I don't think he was. I don't know if he got you from us or what.
Yeah, because I got him from Scotland, and then somebody else. I have somebody India or somebody's listening. I'm like, okay, but yeah, Scottish. Yeah, nice. Well, that was fun. I've been trying to get Greg. I've asked him a few times. He committed, and then he had some family stuff, and I get it. So I didn't want to bother him again. And then I did, and then he didn't respond. So I was like, I don't want to just keep bugging the guy. He's even more busy now than he's ever been. And for him to come, I pleaded to him, like, listen, Lynn is such a huge fan of yours, and you helped her grow by numbers that, are astronomical for the time frame that it happened in. And it was just like super special if you could just come on for her. I'm like, I'm not going to talk
anything about you in the thumbnail or the description of the channel. Like, you do not exist as far as this broadcast is concerned, other than you being there if you can be, just for her, not for
cool
me.
guy. Yeah, he was.
And
you could tell he's very humble. You know what I mean, and he appreciates what he has. So
he is a great guy.
Yes, that's great.
And you know the bar room where I was doing stuff over on the bar room. He originally came from there, so it's kind of serendipitous in a way.
It is. You know, just how we got together. You know, we lived down the street practically from each other, and you know, you were a little punk rolling around, and you were
making your Italian beast for you.
I know, that was beef, baby. But so, yeah, you know what he said. What he said basically is right. Bottom line is, we got to see what happens. Ben Johnson's got his plate full. He's on board. He's you know, but he's got to command that locker room. They got to turn him around. You know, I don't think that Eberflus made anybody really accountable. He was just too weak. He was soft. He certainly can't tell time. And, you know, so that's the one thing, what you guys both said is he commanded that press conference that first day when they introduced Ben Johnson. You were just like, wow. I don't think I've heard a Bears coach talk like that since probably Lovie Smith for the first conference. Lovie Smith came in and he said, I'm taking you to a Super Bowl and I'm going to beat the Packers.
Packers, yes.
And he did it. We lost the Super Bowl, but we went. So, you know what? The Packers are huge. And speaking of that game, that last game was so monumentally huge for, of course, the players, but I think more the fans. I mean, I don't think we could have taken another loss against Green Bay. And I'll tell you what, Stevenson had a great game. We were talking about him. He had a great game on that Sunday, and all the Bears showed up. And I kept saying to my son, where has this team been all season? Why do they show up now? You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, they had a talking to, and it's Green Bay, but we played Green Bay weeks earlier. We should have beaten them then. I mean, right? We should have beaten everybody.
Should be 2-0 against the Packers. Yeah. Caleb Williams should be 2-0.
Yeah. Should have beaten Minnesota. We should have beaten Detroit. I mean, those were winnable games. We all know that.
You know, sometimes things have to happen for a reason, right? Like, if we would have won those games we all are bitching and complaining about that we didn't win, would we be sitting here with the top head coaching candidate? I mean, because, you know, no. Lynn, we haven't, like, this is, I kind of wanted to end this with this because my initial response was just like, oh, well, they're going to fuck this up. It must be the wrong hire because it's the Bears. But then I started really, you know, well, I was actually diving into it the night before. He was hired on a Monday. The Sunday night before, I was going through press conferences from like the top candidates, Todd Monken, the top candidates that I thought, you know, I narrowed it down to the dorkiest Bears and the dorkiest head coaches they could possibly hire, and or like the most overcompensating reach that you could get, like they did with John Fox, right? Like, you have to overcompensate for such a bad coach, right? Because you got to reach. So I'm like, well, Mike McCarthy's too cool. And I was like, we were literally laying in bed, Kitty and I'm watching videos on my phone. I'm like, look at this. Here's Ben Johnson at a press conference, just middle of the week before a game. I'm like, he's way too cool. He'll never be our head coach. Moving on.
I know.
I'm like, here's Mike McCarthy. Yeah, way too much power, way too cool. Never had. Yep. And I said, here, look at Todd Monken from the Ravens. And every time that they asked him a question, Lynn, he went like this.
Oh, God.
I'm answering your question right now. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, question? Oh, I'm answering your question right now. And it reminded me of Matt Eberflus when every time they'd ask him a question, he would shuffle his papers. Remember that? And he would move his pens around and he would like, okay, I'm ready to answer this question now.
The same shit all the time. All the time.
The McCaskies have got to hire the guy that is clearly lacking confidence so that they can control him. And Todd Monken is that guy because he has the nervous tick.
I know.
Well, I have to scratch my shoulder every time I have to answer a question like Matt Eberflus. That shows a sign of weakness.
Yes,
You see right through it. He's not going to handle the Chicago media. And I was ready to do a show that Monday. I had it all ready to go to do a show about the reasons why Todd Monken will be the next head coach because he has a nervous tick. And boom, they fucking hired Ben Johnson. I was like,
I know, I did too. I was like, I'm like, oh, I'm not hearing this right. And my son calls me, and I'm like, oh, is it true? And he's like, yeah. See, but like I said earlier, it kind of goes to what you're saying. They never wanted to hire somebody smarter than them in the room. They just didn't want to. This is the first time in a very long time with Ditka and Lovie Smith are about the only two, because I've seen a lot of coaches. And but this guy, he walked in and it was such a difference. I mean, what we've been listening to for years and years, right? And this guy said, Cliff said McCarthy wanted the job. Well, sure, anybody wanted this job because you got this great quarterback and you're close. Yeah, we had no offensive line, but you're close. We're real close. You feel those few things, we're going to be there. I'm telling you, you might be right in predictions this year. Well, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm not going. I'm done predicting winning seasons. That might be one. That might be the reason why.
500, okay? And that's sad to say that'll make me happy. But after the last, 4 or 5 years, well, 18, since 18, I want that. But of course I want to go. And the Raiders, oh, by the way, the Bears are coming to Vegas this year. They're playing the Raiders. Yeah, baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why don't you and Miss Kitty fly out?
No, we'll drive out. We have dogs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The stadium is like 10 minutes from my house. It's down the street.
So we can stay in your basement? What, do you got a basement over there?
No, I live in Vegas. We don't have basements, but I have 3 bedrooms.
With our dogs? We can stay there with our dogs? Look, as soon as Greg Braggs leaves, we go to 137 viewers. 39. Thank you, Greg Braggs. This guy's the man. Everything he touches turns to gold.
Yes, it is nice. But yeah, so, we'll have to see. You know what? I'm happy. You're happy. Now we got to see what they do in the off season. We need to fit. We need an experienced offensive lineman, get some in the draft. I want another running back who can plow through. I saw a guy. It was before Christmas, so it was the games before Christmas. And what team was that? Was it Arizona? I can't remember, but this kid looked like a Chicago Bear. He was a running back. And, man, I talked about him on one of my shows. I'm like, that's what we need. This kid, people were hanging on to him, and he was running with 2 guys hanging on to him. I'm like, Walter Payton. And I thought, oh, this is what we need. You put him and Swift together, you've got the magic that Detroit has. And they're 2 running backs, right? And then you get that offensive line. It would be great if we could get another guy to do. Well, I think we'll be okay with Dexter and Booker. I think we need to help Andrew Billings in the middle.
Yeah.
Stop that run. Because when Andrew went out, that was the other thing. We were bad anyways, but when he went out, it got really bad. So we need another run stopper, but we can get this. Between the draft and the free agency, we can fill these holes.
So before we end the show,
I know we did that forever.
your feelings on the hiring of Dennis Allen as our defensive coordinator?
I like him. I do. I think he's got a lot of good. I was reading about all the stuff he's done. I had written down some notes. I mean, he's been around. He's a winner. He is a proven winner. And I think with all his experience, Ben Johnson doesn't even have to worry about that. This guy's been a head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's done it all. So you can just say to him, it's yours. I'm going to take care of the offense. Well, of course, he's going to run the whole team, but you know what I mean. The day-to-day, getting in these guys' face, here, Dennis, it's yours. You do it. And I think he's going to do it. And that's what we need. Not a Matt Eberflus running of the team and telling the D coordinator what to do. I mean, Christ. I mean, what a shit show. So I like it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it was a great choice. I was very excited when I heard that. I got to say.
Me too. Here's why. He's not going anywhere. He's already tried to be a head coach twice.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere.
He knows his limitations now. Yes.
We know he's a good defensive coordinator. You just said, like Nagy did with Fangio. He can hand it off to the defensive side. He can hand it off to Dennis Allen, go, you do what you're going to do. I'm going to focus on this. And we're going to look back in 6 months and go, okay, excellent chemistry. And the more he builds it, the more they will come. The better that they are, the less he will. He's not going anywhere.
Yes, exactly. He's not going to go anywhere. And if these two, Ben Johnson and him, can bring this town, will go insane. If we could go back to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl, they're going to have jobs forever. I mean, so it's the time. I think the time is right. I'm like, the universe has got to finally align. It has got to, for the Bears, with all the shit they've gone through, and we're so close. We finally got the one thing we never had, a quarterback. And I know people are Jim McMahon or whatever. You know how I feel about that. No. Anybody could have been a quarterback on that team in '85. But
how dare you, Lynn Hayden?
I know it, but it's true. But it's got to align. So I'm like, okay, the universe has finally got to come together for the Bears. They got the one thing they never had. So now I really feel, and I'm probably going to regret it, but I do feel like it's going to happen. I think we're going to turn this thing around. And I think we're going to, Cabe Williams is going to be put on a pedestal, and he's never going to pay for another meal in his life in Illinois. No. So let's go. Let's fucking go.
All right. So we'll end this on that note, and I'm going to end this on my note. Is that I'm caught? I have. This is going into this next season will be the 4th year of BCP. And for any one of you 289, 92, 93 people watching right now, please find it in your heart to like and subscribe, leave a comment, set your notifications. Our normal show is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we have even more fun than tonight. This is a special show with Lynn, and look what you're bringing in, Lynn. You're the shit.
I know. Dan's like, come on, let's do a show. And I said, all right, because mine are YouTube, so I don't have it live, So I was like, okay. But Dan and I are talking about re-bringing our show back that we did 3 years ago. And so we might be doing that. We'll see, right?
I would love that. That would be great.
Well, I'm going on the 6th year of my show. It'll be 6 years this year because I started during COVID, so. I know, but you got way more subscribers. But again, at the end of the day, it really is only because I love doing it and I love making people laugh.
Your show's better. I only have more subscribers because I painstakingly go every Thursday night the entire week of the year, and you're just seasonal. So you're far better than
I couldn't do it seasonal. It would be exhausting. And I am old, so I need my rest. I know from my neck down, from my up, I'm not. I don't feel my age from up and down. I do.
From here down, you're like you're in a wheelchair, you're falling apart.
Exactly. But I'm not going anywhere until those damn Bears win a Super Bowl, and that is just all it's to it.
I hear you, right? Like, have you ever got to that point where like, oh my God, this could be the quarterback. I hope I don't die.
I know. I say it all the time about stuff, Oh, this and that. Oh, I'll probably die before it happens.
Well, let me get through a Bears Super Bowl, please. Please.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, just one more, please. I want to see it with my son. Because,
oh, that would be special.
He said to me during the season, because he is just crushed. He's like, you know what? It really sucks to be a Bears fan. And I said, I told you. And he's like, oh, man. I go, I'm sorry, son. I feel bad, but he is all in. I can't help it. I did it to him, too. But thank you for having me on. It was fun doing this and got to meet Greg. That is awesome. Maybe Greg will have you and me on his show.
If he had us on CHGO, that would be like, I got to put on a tuxedo for that shit. What do I do? I don't know how to react.
I know.
I'm too unregimented and uncensored on my own show here to like go on CHO. I think I would be like, I don't even know what to say here. Right? Well, these fucking guys. Oh.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
Sorry.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe we will. You never know. So, but this was fun. It really was fun.
This was an absolute blast, Lynn. I love you with all my heart. I hope you are well. I know you're well, and I'm glad you're well. And I'm glad I got to.
Miss Kitty.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love you.
She said to say hi to you, and I said she's going to say the same thing. So you guys said hi to each other. I want to thank Greg Braggs for making this super special, because Greg really helped to blow up your channel, Lynn, out of nowhere, just overnight. It was amazing. I just kept
literally overnight. Seriously,
I was checking in like every couple hours, like, holy shit, there's another 50 subscribers.
I couldn't believe it. I told you I had to turn off my computer, turn it back on. I thought there was something wrong with it.
And I asked Greg tonight, or I asked him last night about coming on today. I said, this is not for BCP. This is not for my channel. I could give a shit. This is for you, so that you can meet him and he can meet you, and you guys can kind of. That's kind of why I backed out from it. Let you guys have the stage.
I know. I was
because
like, where's Dan? I know.
Well, it was your time, and I'm glad I got to do that because it's super special, and I'm glad that I got to be a part of that with you.
Thank you. You know what? You know how I appreciate that stuff. So, it's not bullshit with me. If you watch my show and you've seen me on Dan's show, you see what you get. I'm not a bullshitter, but I appreciate it. And I'll be telling everybody in my family about it. And my cousin who lives in Illinois, I know he watches Greg's show. Because when he heard about it, he was like, what? He called you out? So I'm going to have to tell him I met him on the show, and he's going to be so excited.
One more view. We get one more view out of that.
You probably will.
Hopefully one more. That'd be nice.
Yeah, hey, they add up, right? So, but, let's just hope we have a good off season.
Listen, we're going to have a good off season. We're going to be doing... We're here every week. Every Thursday night is our main show, 9 p.m. Eastern time. For everyone watching, we hope that you enjoyed the last half that you came into. We'll be on again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We're going to be doing a whole draft marathon. We've got some good people to break the picks down and break down the draft prospects and stuff. J2K is he's becoming a master at that. He's going to be our main guy. We're looking forward to that. J2K, I know you're in chat or listening. Thank you for joining us. And it's going to be a lot of fun as we get into this next season, because I had my downtime. Excuse me. I had my downtime where I was just, like, I can't do this team anymore, man. They're killing me. And, it always comes back around, and it's starting to come back around. I'm excited about this hire. I'm excited about the Randall L coming over from the Lions.
And he's from Illinois.
Making him an assistant head coach just to keep him as a wide receivers coach. Impressive. Yep. Love that stuff. And I'm super excited. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. I hope you guys had a great time. And please like and subscribe, share. And we'll see you again tomorrow night. Lynn, love you so much. Please do this more. Please do this more.
We will. I promise. I'm back, so I'm back on the mend again. So we'll do shows in 2025. We gotta celebrate. I've been watching the Bears 50 years. I mean, I gotta go. This has got to be my. Maybe that's why it will be a big year. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. It's my fifth. This is my 50th. Well, it's my 50th first year, but I just
50th. Yeah, right. Yeah. You haven't been watching them for 50 years, okay?
40 though.
Yeah, there you go.
Then please at least come on with us during the draft, because it's a marathon. It's 3 days. Yeah, we're on for 7-8 hours. Come on for a half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever.
That I can do. Okay.
Yeah, you can pop in and out. You'll have a link. You can just pop in and out whenever you want. How about that?
Okay. I will love it, my friend. You and I will talk before then, but yes.
Of course we will, but just for all your new fans here in chat.
Right. Thank you.
You can catch her again.
You guys have a good show host. He's awesome. So keep watching him. And I'll be back next year in the end of August. So, yep.
This year, you mean?
Or this year, I mean. Oh, that's right. It's
You
this
mean
year.
you mean during the draft on BCP?
Well, I'll be on yours and then I'll do a draft show myself, and then I won't be back onto my show until the end of August. I don't start until
start of the season. Yeah,
I wait to the last game of the preseason because it's all fluff, So
yeah.
I just wait until I know who's going to be on the team. And thank you, D Stratton. Thanks. Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you, Lynn. I love real people. Yes.
Oh, that's me.
I agree.
You got it, baby.
What's the run in the chat? Are you doing that in the background? Listen, if you are, I appreciate it. Lynn, love you so much.
I love you, man. I know. I love you too. And thank you for having me on. It was a blast. And you just keep the faith.
I will. I'll keep the faith. You keep the faith. You keep doing what you're doing. And we'll have you on the show again real soon. Love you, my friend.
I love you too. You have a good one, and go Bears.
Go Bears. Let's end this shit on a 1, 2, 3 Bears. Ready? That's how we do this. Ready? A 1, a 2, a 3.
Bears.